Hello and welcome back to my channel. Right now I'm working on a 2006 Dodge Charger Pursuit package. Now I've had this vehicle for a long time. It's a personal vehicle, so it will not be for sale after this vehicle is done being repaired and brought back to a drivable level. Now I've been doing a lot of heavy rust repair, which you could see in my older YouTube videos on my channel. The reason why I'm fabricating the new driver's side floor area was because the original got ruined from the original sound insulation and heat insulation. Now I'm going to be putting in a different type. It's more economy based insulation. However, it will not retain the water like the last one does, which is more like a tar like sheets that they actually press down at the factory. And that's what rotted out the floor panels in this area, which just naturally happened from the water and the debris, especially being a pursuit package car. That means when it was in service for its branch, it was holding no punches back, especially being a state trooper vehicle. This one was heavily used. When I purchased it, it was around, I think about 100,000 miles and about 118,000 now on it. I do, roughly a certain amount of mileage, the same amount per year. It's a daily driver. But as you see here, this is the sound insulation that I am going to be cutting in and putting in this area. Take your time, cut it out. You can be as precise as you want. And I'm going to be using a special type of tape, which is meant for insulation to hold down the sides. And then anywhere where that type of tape is giving me some problems, I'm using a 3M weatherproof tape, as I do not want to glue this insulation down, because if I ever have problems with rust again, which I don't think I will, at least I don't have to ruin the insulation I have, and I can remove it just like I do with the rugs by just peeling back the tape. And this will still allow it to stay adhered to the ground, and then the rug will go over it. Normally I do glue in any insulation, but with this, as a daily driver, I want to be able to take it off, clean it, vacuum, do whatever else I need to do, and still be able to reuse it, as it's not the same style insulation that's like a tar or like a dyno mat. This is just a sound insulation mylar with a little bit of foam, which will actually keep the heat and the sound down a bit, but it was probably about $30 for the whole supply roll. But it'll actually keep the temperatures down, and this will be the replacement, like I said, so I don't have to worry about moisture being introduced and holding it on the metal where I just put in the brand new metal. Now I'm using a razor blade and I'm just tracing back. You can press it on the edges and then you can follow that edge line and cut it back. And then I'm going to be using tape to hold and compress it down. And then you can trace and make this whole floor area. There's 3 sections that I have to do. And I'm also going to tape back the original wiring harness that was originally untaped when they deactivated this from being a police package car with all the equipment in it. They've removed all that, so they had to go into the wiring, and everything was untaped since then. I'm going to just retape it with some more electrical tape. That way the wires are protected again underneath the rug instead of just free floating. This is just small stuff that I like to do. If I find something that I missed, or there's something that needs to be maintained, or just, something that you can improve on, I always try to do that as I'm going along, especially if it's in the budget. And then taping off some wires is insanely cheap, but it also adds on some layer of protection again, as the original harness had like a cloth wiring on it, which I'm not going to go with that as that retains water. I'm just going to use some standard 3M electrical tape. I don't know the series off the top of my head right now, but that was pretty much as simple as you can go. You can go right to your Home Depot or something like that, or use something a little bit better than that if you want to. But other than that, it will be just as fine. This is the type of tape I'm using on the edges. It's a foil style tape that has an adhesion on the back, and it's meant for insulation. Sometimes you'll see it in HVAC settings, but this is what the company supplied for free with this insulation, so that I'll just try to use it with the application. With my opinion, the tape was okay. It doesn't have the strongest adhesion, but at least I know it's still the same sort of type of material as the Mylar, and it'll keep that heat in and allow me to kind of keep the same uniform look. Now, remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in seeing any sort of tips like this, or me working on some classic cars. I'm normally not working on many modern vehicles. I choose to work with classics, but this is something that you will be seeing. This vehicle is just like this when I make some videos about it to help teach you guys what I'm going through to help solve some problems, especially with these LX platform cars. Feel free to check out my playlist below and in my account. You can see all the tips I have, especially with rust repair, especially if you have a Magnum, a 300, or a Charger. The Magnum and even the Challenger also share the same issues, like the foam in the rocker panels. Now, if you want to see how to handle that and remove yours, you can go to my channel and see it right there in the playlist of LX platform. Repairs and more. Just go right to my home screen, scroll down, and you'll see it right there, and there's a list of all the repairs I did on this LX Charger. Alright guys, let's get back to it. Now, this material is very easy to piece and stuff like that, so if you end up cutting it a little bit too short in some areas, or you have some oddball cuts, feel free to make anything in sections, and you can use the tape to kind of be forgiving and help it all be uniform at the end. Although the tape is very hard to peel, it took me a while to kind of get a grip on it. You got to have some sharp nails on you to get underneath it, especially with it being foil. Like I said, I don't really recommend this tape, but it did work out, especially for it being free with the installation when I ordered it. But for in the future, I'm going to stick with some 3M weatherproof tape if I'm going to be doing some temporary adhesion. Like I said, this is just so I can always pull off this insulation if needed in the future without it being glued down. And when you glue down insulation and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with that. For being a daily driver, I don't want to introduce water in between the sound insulation and the rug, which will then cause condensation, dirt, and debris to start rusting or causing oxidation if there's a scratch or something that's exposed after I'm done priming and painting, which you saw in the last video. That will still protect it, but if there ever gets a scratch on there or something like that, there will be some oxidation, and if the rust starts to form again, you'll be back in the same scenario. Although I did use thicker steel on the floorboard patch than normal, I do know that the normal factory steel is way thinner than like 22 gauge or stuff like that. But I went with 18 gauge on my floor patch, and with my frame rail sections, I followed the layered sections fully through, patched each layer before I finished it up, and then I'll be cleaning those up later. Be done with that. I do have to drop the differential and fix a leak on that. Other than that, I have a few other things to tie up, and then this car will be back on the road. Now, with this vehicle being almost 20 years old, it's getting close to the point where this will be registered as a classic or an antique vehicle. I don't remember which one is the exact label, but once you get to a certain point, remember that these vehicles are aging, so you have to do the maintenance and keep on top of that, as they are not brand new anymore. These vehicles are highly seasoned, especially if you bought a pursuit vehicle. You're going to be running into a lot of maintenance, especially with the first release of these styles since they were canceled. These LX platforms are known for a lot of suspension issues and stuff like that you'll have to stay on top of, especially with it being a pursuit package. I know I have to redo a lot of my suspension parts because they're starting to get to a point where the ball joints and stuff like that are starting to wear out and get a little bit cracked. So we're going to have to start replacing the things as they go along. I did the brake lines, a lot of them. The hard lines are still original, but I did all the flex lines. I did new calipers. I put on new rotors. You just pretty much have to stay on top of anything that you can think of over time with the budget and finances that you have, of course. Not everyone's going to be able to throw in a $5,000 brand new motor, and some people are going to have to just make do and keep the car running and stuff like that, which I like to include videos on both ends of the spectrum. Vehicles being fully restored to the point where they're past their factory level. I also like showing cars getting back on the road at a daily driver level too. Not all vehicles have to be a trailer queen, and not all vehicles have to stay at a beater level. It all has to do with what you're working on and what you feel comfortable with. Being in your own vehicle, you can set the terms of how far you want to bring your vehicle. As long as you can keep the vehicle in safe conditions, That's all I propose to do as a car owner or anything else like that. Try to keep your vehicle as together as you can, and that way you can still enjoy it and still keep it on the road at the same time. As you can see here, I'm using some 3M electrical tape, like I was mentioning before in the part of the video. And I was talking about what I was using material-wise in this car to get this project done at a budget level. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or anything else like that. Any local supplier or hardware store should have it. My day job allows me to have a lot of stuff like this. But back to it, just make sure you use some tape that's rated for the heat level that you're putting in there, and you'll be good. Now, you don't even have to have a charger if you want to replicate this on your car. Like I said, there's a lot of expensive companies out there, like Dynamat, which makes it a lot better, superior product. But if you're on a budget and you just want to throw in some insulation, this product is not bad at all. I'll try to find it in my past purchase history and include it in my description below. Now, as you can see, I didn't take the rug fully out. I didn't feel like pulling the console out, even though it's something that you could do within minutes. I'm just trying to show you, if you have things in the way, just prop it up with a piece of wood or anything else like that that you have around. You can use a book, and this will allow you to get everything out of your way, and you can cut your pieces of insulation, tape the wires, do anything else you need to do. I wasn't even planning on taking the rug or the seats out, but when I started welding, I needed to pull the material back so it wouldn't catch on fire. This then allowed me to finish up all the other projects I needed with the room I needed. I wrapped everything with the fireproof blankets when I was welding, because the sparks do come through that area where your seatbelts are. You will have to remove them before you start welding anything on your frame rails, because they will most likely get an ember or two, and that's enough to cause a fire. Alright, YouTube, if you remember to like and subscribe to my channel, this is a reminder for you to do it again. Thanks again for making it through the end of the video, and I hope that you can do this on your vehicle to stay inside your budget. Like I said, this insulation is very budget friendly. It's not like Dynamat or something else like that. Of course, that product is going to be a lot better quality and a lot better at what it can do. But if you're in a budget, like I said, this stuff is perfect for that, and it still provides some heat and cold reduction on the inside of the car and the insulation, the sound to a certain degree. Remember to stay tuned. You'll see another weekly video.